Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. In my last video, we made this very cute piece for my swap partner that includes some hidden pockets. If you haven't watched that video, it's the last one that I posted. So the lady I am swapping with requested her pages be blue, and I have to make her these 4 pages, or 2 and 2. So we went sort of floral and butterfly for the first one, and I'm going sort of a bit vintage nautical for this next one. So if you want to know what all this swap stuff's about, if you head to my playlist Creative Collab Journal, I have lots of videos about this project, which has been going on since the start of the year, plus another 2 years before that. But what I've got here is an 8 by 7.5 inch piece of scrapbooking paper. I have already folded it in half and I've inked the edges, and this will officially be 2 pages, just like this one. Of course, if you don't want to create this sort of journal where all the pages will be put together with holes and rings, you can use these ideas on a normal junk journal page. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start on this side. Now, keeping in mind, I have to keep a bit of a clearance here. So you'll see that I will work more towards the center because we're going to punch holes in ours when we finally put our journals together. But I just want to start. I've got this little piece of vintage map. This was a freebie from Seven Plaza. And I just wanted to add a little bit of something to this page before we add the bits. So let me just add some glue to this. I'm just glue sticking here over onto the left. You can't see this, but I don't have enough room. I've got all these bits for this page all along the left here. So we're just going to stick this down. Just wanted to create something a little different than just the plain blue water, but I did think that was a perfect base. Of course, I've just torn this bit and I've inked around the edges. And the next thing I want to do is a little stamping. So I grabbed out this little Kaisercraft set, and I want to use this vintage style steering wheel. So we're going to pop that on my plate here, and I think I will do this in brown instead of black, because obviously steering wheels back then were made of timber, so I don't think I need harsh black. So we're just grabbing some brown ink for this. This is one I can never pronounce this name, but beautiful ink to use. And I'm going to flip this around and just stamp towards the edge. This doesn't have a straight edge, this stamp, so it can be a little bit hard to line up, but that should do the trick. Oh, I like that. Absolutely perfect. So the next thing we're going to add is what I would call a faux waterfall. Normally when you make a waterfall, you have to stick all these bits on a strip so that you can pull the strip down and it all goes flip, flip, flip. Well, this is like what I would call a pretend one. So I've made all these little flippy bits. They're 3 inches by 2.5. You score at 1/2 inch. So basically you end up with 2.5 inch squares. And then we're just going to glue them down here. And what I've done, you'll just see, I think, yes, you can just see them on the screen on the left here. I've done them in graduating colours. So I'm starting off with the lightest one and I'll end up with the darkest one. Of course, you do whatever you like, but I thought that might be fun. And I'm just using a selection of scrapbooking papers that I had in my stash. When it comes to nautical things, I have lots. Now, just to make this a little bit easier to line up, I'm going to flip it round. Then we're going to put the first one in. And we're going, nice and close over to the edge. And we just press that one down. we go. Then we just flip that open for a minute while we prep the next one. And we leave a little bit of space so that we end up with the waterfall effect. We're going to try and keep them relatively even, but, you know, we're not panicking about getting perfect measurements, but just leave a little bit of gap. See, you get the drift of how it will look. Then we move on to the next one. I think this would look delightful with any sort of paper. Like, you know, you buy a junk journaling kit, print it out on some heavier paper, like one of the background pages, and will look absolutely fabulous. And this is so much easier than creating a real waterfall. So it's a little cheat, but looks good to me. Now, trying to keep them sort of even. Almost there, 2 more to go. Probably could have left a bit of a bigger gap by the looks of things, but you know what? It's okay. You'll get to see more of this. So that's not the worst thing that could happen. I pop this one down. Actually could also make more, I think, if you wanted to. Voila. We now have ourselves a little pretend waterfall. But we're not quite finished. Of course, a lot of these projects, if you've been watching, there's little hidden pockets and fun bits. So guess what? This project is not going to be without those. What I'm going to do, oh, sorry. Just knocked my stand. I'm just going to sit this on here for a minute so that I can work with this one first. So what I've done, I've created, I think in the original video, sorry, this idea is from Pink Monarch Prints. They had a kit that you can purchase to make this entire set, but we're doing ours with our own stash because each of our swap partners has their own style or colour that they want to work with. So what I've done, I've created, from the corner, I measured 2 inches, and I've cut them into a triangle for my pockets so that I sort of had maximum space to put goodies. I think in the original video they've made normal sort of little pockets, but I decided to do this a little differently. So again, I've just gone through my stash and found some great little scraps, or you know when you cut a piece, you have a 12 by 12 and then you cut a particular piece out and you end up with these little odd strips still attached to a 12 by 12. Well, that's where I got most of this from, doing exactly that, so that I didn't have to cut up good whole sheets. Yep, so there we go. That's pocket number 1. So I'm going to glue down the rest of the pockets and then we will continue on. While all my little pockets are attached and drying, we're going to flip over to the other side and do the base for that. So the first thing I've got here is a large pocket. So this is 6.5 inches by 3 inches. So we need to glue this down. You want to make sure you're gluing the right way. And again, just sort of popping it over to the left, trying to keep my clear way there. There we go. Then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add a little belly band. So this is 6.5 inches by, hang on, I've forgotten how much I did this by because we had an error in the, hang on, let me grab my ruler. In our little instructions that we got, there was a mistake. So 1.5 I ended up picking. And then what we're doing, we're flipping it over. Now, is this, no, it doesn't matter which way. Can you see how I've made marks on here? So normally with a belly band, you just put a little bit of glue along the top and a little bit of glue along the bottom. Then you stick it down and you can then store things underneath. But this is a little different, this belly band. These little marks are also where I'm going to place glue, so we can only place little mini things under this belly band, but that's what makes this fun and different to a normal one. So, as you can see, I'm making 4 little pockets here. So, I'm going to pop that relatively central, tiny bit to the left. If you don't like measuring things, the easiest way to deal with these sort of things, put it off center purposefully. That way it's not, oh, look, she's got it wrong. If you purposefully move it up or down or left to right, then it's all good. It doesn't matter. Now, I want to add a little bit of deco to this belly band, and I've found this gorgeous piece in a this is from, who is it again, one of my favorite. Now, sorry, I got distracted. I've got to keep my north at the top so I can put this the right way down. I'm having a mental blank. I have used this paper pack many a time, and it's all vintage steampunk mermaid arrangements, but I'm having a complete mental blank as to who made this at the moment. No, I think we might put it down about there. So as you can see, I only put glue just a little bit down the middle because obviously I don't want to glue down either side here. And then I also found this is a cut apart sheet from a very old Kaisercraft collection that I'm going to pop on here, except I want to get rid of that bit there because I've just remembered this is a little bit too long. So I'm going to pop that on here like this, and I'm not going to press down there because I don't want that to glue down and mess up my belly band. So I won't put pressure on that. There we go, because there'll be a tiny little bit of glue left there. And then the other one is the word territory. And isn't that what ancient marining was all about, was discovering new places? We might start that over there. So there we go. So that's done. Now we need to do some finishing off. So the first thing we have to do is I found these 2 tiny little scraps, and what I want to do is just add them to here, just purely for a little bit of deco, because I thought, I don't know what I'm ever going to do with these tiny little scraps anyway, so why not use them up? Let me get that out of the way before I end up throwing it on the floor by accident. So that's that bit, and then also this cute little ropey piece. I thought I might just put down on the bottom one, just for something different. Don't have to do this, but look, forget the less is more thing. It's not how I roll. Same piece that I have the 6x6 pad and the 12x12 sheet. So this is from the same collection. So I thought I might just add the word journey down here. Okay, now we can fill our pockets. So have a selection of goodies here. I had to hunt for little tiny things because we obviously have very tiny little pockets here. So I've got a beautiful Nautilus shell there. And then I might also put, no, I don't want to hide that shell. That's too cute. What about one of these little, I had these cute little tickets. Don't know where I got them from, but I thought one of those would fit in there. Flipping over, let's add a cute little stamp. And then I had a 12 by 12 cut apart sheet that had all these really cute little images. And I went, oh, this is absolutely perfect for this project. See, then we've got anchor and an anchor. And how about a very cute little crab in that one? Then let's see, we can have a lighthouse and bon voyage. And then let's put Macau in. That was part of the Silk Road. That's where a lot of trade headed to Macau. This cute little, I don't know, little sea flags. I'm not sure what they are, but look, it's cute. And then for the lucky last one, we have another shell and another vintage lighthouse. How cute is that? There we go. So we've got those filled. And then lucky last, no, second lucky last, I have made a tag. This is just from a scrap, and then I cut a circle out with another one of the little fishies, and I love this little octopus down there. So we have a nice big journal tag, and it has a little sticky out bit at the top. I love that. And now I made, again, I've just grabbed some scraps, and this was on an old Kaisercraft sticker sheet. These little pieces, absolutely perfect. And on two of them, I even made tiny little tabs just for something different. And then we just have to stick them in our pockets here. So, no, why don't we start, let's start with the dark one there. Then this one with the little tab can go, just got to be gentle here because we don't want to tear anything. Oh, this is very cute. I like this. This is a fun idea and a great way to use up some scraps. Very happy with how that's turned out. And then that one there, I think uncharted territory with the little map coordinates is V cute. And there we go, that's all done. But there's one last bit I want to do because I find this annoying. I know over time this will flatten out, but I have a plan on how to help hold it down. So I need to go grab those little bits and then we will finish this off. Okay, so I decided I wanted a paperclip arrangement to help hold those little waterfall pieces down. But after going through my stash, I couldn't find anything that sort of matched, except these pieces. But obviously these look way too modern and I don't think they match my theme. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting. So the first thing I thought I could do, I'm going to grab some distress ink, and I thought if I just brushed this a little bit, it doesn't have to be perfect coverage because I want the blue to show through, but I really don't want it to be so bright. So we're just experimenting here. Let's hope we can end up with something that just looks a little bit more vintage than what we started with. And I think that might just about do the trick. That doesn't look quite so new anymore. Then the next thing we've got here is I have brassy, you know, that old-fashioned type ring in my stash, but they're quite small. There is no way in the world it's going to get through this hole and through here. So the only large ones I had were silver. So I thought what I could do is if I grab this and then we're going to cover it in a little bit of black Sharpie for starters. It's a little bit fiddly here, but the things we try and do so you just got to be a bit patient, keep turning it around until you get it all well covered. Don't forget the insides and the outsides. And I'm using permanent marker so that hopefully it doesn't just all rub off in a flash. So we're going to let that dry for a minute. And then I'm going to grab, this is another permanent marker, another Sharpie. This is a sort of a goldy colour. I don't know how this is going to work on here, but I thought maybe we could tone this down a bit. I didn't realise I didn't have any paper clips in that brassy bronze colour either, so I need to stock up. I've got really little mini ones, but I think that's too small for what I'm trying to achieve here, so we're doing exactly the same thing, just adding a little bit of this. I just want to tone down the brightness to make it look a little bit more authentic. So just shuffling around, trying to make sure we get most of it covered. I think that's turned out quite well. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't mind some blue showing through. And then I'm going to quickly do the same with this. Just add a little bit of this on top, because I don't necessarily want a black ring. But again, we're experimenting. I think that might do the trick. So I would leave those to dry just for a little while, and I'll come back and we'll put it together. Okay, so I got my pliers out, I put it all together, and with this bright light, it does make it look a little bit brighter than what it sort of really is. But I think it turned out okay. It definitely doesn't look as new and as modern as what it was. So now with the paper clip in place, you see how it helps to hold down these. Again, not perfectly, but I'm going to sit this under a book before I post it to get it down nice and flat. And of course now all I have to do is glue these together so that it becomes the 2 pages. And I'll just flip back out again for a minute and have a look. I think this turned out fabulously. And of course, the little paper clip not only does the job to help hold these down, but it will actually be on the spine too. I mean, on the, yes, on the spine, on the outer edge. And this can hang out the side because this will be the outer edge of the journal page. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Bit of a nice vintage theme one to go to my swap partner. I'd love it if you could give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments box below. I would love to hear. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, see you later. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye for now.